Ahoy! Today I'd like to talk about update 1.03 for New World. Normally I do these videos a little bit earlier, but this time I wanted to wait until the patch is out because I wanted to make sure that certain things work as intended, since I'm actually on the server that got a bit of a priority treatment here to test the server transfer feature. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Also, by the way, let me know if you like me better without the avatar or with it. And now let's dive into the changes here. So the whole server transfer will roll out, and that will be the primary thing of this patch. But along with that, there are also some other nice things, as well as some fixes that were really needed. So you get a title in game now, the Stoic, and you get the waiting emote for free for the store, in the store, for having sat through the first weeks of queues, basically. That's a little bit of a nice bonus. But the main thing here is the character transfers. And what they're going to do is they're going to start with, or what they did is they started with Utopia, that's the server I'm on, for server transfers. What happened initially was that the server transfers only allowed you to transfer away from Utopia, which was really bad because Utopia had already been hit with the locked server character creation for a very long time, which actually kind of reduced the population for a while. But now it seems that transfer to Utopia is open as well. And they already did another server restart in between because it seems to still cause some issues at the moment. But it's looking pretty good. The server is really filling up. It's getting really popular again. So I would say the server transfers are definitely on a good way so far. And that makes me very happy because there was a lot of frustration around it, especially on Utopia, because a lot of people switched to other servers and then couldn't switch back. And creation was locked as well. So yeah, I think in the long run, that should be pretty good for the game. And their plan is to roll this out for the other regions afterwards. And then after 8 hours, if there aren't any issues, they will fully deploy it. Since there were some issues and they had to restart the server, I imagine it might be a little bit later. But yeah, it should be coming soon enough. And then there is a whole description here on how to do that. But I've already talked about it in the past, so we don't need to do that again. Like in terms of what you keep or what you lose and so on. You can pause the video here if you want to see it. The interesting thing is it still says you cannot move your character to a full world. So I'm not sure how that's being handled. I know that Utopia is currently not full anymore. But I don't know if this is going to be like on a first come first serve basis then, or what's going to happen, because I know a lot of people want to come to Utopia and it might just lead to the server being locked again. So that's going to be odd. But I guess in that case you just have to wait a little bit until it's not considered full anymore. I don't know. It might be worth being early if you want to switch to a specific world that is currently not labeled as full, but might become one of the more crowded ones. And then we have a bunch of other changes here of all kinds of different angles of the game, basically. So, implement the final pieces for the server transfer, added improvements to the world selection UI. I actually haven't noticed those ones. Added clearer messaging when a player is kicked due to AFK or violating the easy anti-cheat. Added clear messaging when stacked discounts are present, such as territory standing and faction discounts on property taxes. There seems to be a bug here, a new one. I don't know if that's directly related to this, but faction discounts on fast travel currently don't seem to work consistently. You can sometimes not travel cheaper to regions of your own faction, like still has the higher ASOS cost. So unfortunately that seems to have been bugged out, not necessarily by this, but maybe related to this. Then implemented backend changes to help our team investigate concerns around the client performance in war. Very important. Obviously, super laggy war still, especially on Utopia. I've shown a video about that recently where you can see how bad it really is. It's just a lag fest all over. And hopefully this will be resolved soon through these backend changes. Like, it sounds like these changes don't actually change anything yet, but rather help them figure out what's actually wrong. So fingers crossed that can be solved soon. Then adjusted the respawn rate for Boltzwain, Ambrose, and various other elite enemies throughout the world. This is going to be interesting because at the moment, elite bosses, elite mobs, elite enemies are a big part of grinding gear score. And if that's changed to a longer respawn, that would be very rough because gear score for grind as is already pretty hard. So that would really drag that out. And it's kind of frustrating because you have to have high gear score to even get much value out of running dungeons. In the depth, players must now be in the arena to damage Thorpe. An error message now appears when players attempt to buy their own items on the trading post. Reverted a chest and loot change from update 1.02 that was causing too many refining reagents to roll from chests. Very important one as well. Obviously, there was a massive overcrowding of reagents on the market. However, from what we can tell so far, we tried this a little bit, the revert is not necessarily a full revert. It seems like you can still get multiple different drops of different reagents from the same chest, and you can still get a decent amount of them. It's definitely reduced. We're not quite sure if it's actually 100% reduced to what it was before, or if it's like a bit of a middle ground, because they say the reverted A change, so maybe they had multiple changes and one of them was reverted. But yeah, it looks much better now, much more reasonable amounts, because the market was just flooded with crafting reagents, really. So I'm happy if we get a middle ground of that. Adjusted the volume on the Amazon Games splash screen. Thank you for that. Armor is now limited to 1 skill perk per piece. This one is really interesting. I think it's a good change because it means you can get more useful effects on your armor. But old armor that was crafted before the patch actually still has multiple skill perks. We haven't checked if they actually work, but you can still have like legacy armor at this point that has multiple skill perks. They will obviously be eventually outdated by better gear score stuff, especially if they ever reach the gear score cap. But for now, yeah, if you get a god roll, I don't know what's going to happen to that in the long run. As of now, you still have it, so good on you. Added general performance improvements for visual artifacts and graphic settings. Dice are now removed from items upon trading with a warning message present. The time to declare war timer now visually pauses to make it clear when invasion is imminent but not yet scheduled. Territory remains in a conflict state after invasions and war can be declared. So this is very important because there's a situation that happens very frequently at the moment where you cannot declare war on a territory because an invasion is coming up, but you can't actually see that the invasion is coming up. And that just means like you're running the missions and until you have enough influence to declare war, and then afterwards it tells you, oh, actually you can't do that, which obviously is then a waste of hours sometimes and can be very frustrating. But there's some other stuff like wars being declared while an invasion is ongoing, which doesn't seem to be resolved by this because it's still in the game. Like we found out today that it still actually works. So kind of weird how they're handling that one. I think they should just have it so like, you have an invasion timer, the invasion happens, and afterwards any progress can continue rather than being able to gain influence during an invasion, during an upcoming invasion banner so that the other players can't see that you're getting influence. Really, yeah, not fair in my opinion. And then we have some more bug fixes here. Fix an issue with the tier 5 and tier 4 Aethos staff. Go close those high-level pods. Very important change. Those didn't work at all. So level 55, level 65 pods now actually work. We have tested this. This is actually functional. You can get the rewards from them as well. Apparently, some people reported that they don't get the Azoth, but at least the crystals is what you can get now, and that's extremely important. So that one is absolutely fantastic. Fix an issue causing the abandoned event notification to persist. Yeah, that's been a very annoying one. Fixed a house UI issue. The UI will now correctly show that property taxes are subject to the full price of the home and not impacted by the first time home buyer discount. This is something that was like kind of up to debate for a while, so it's very good that they're confirming that here. That people said you should buy the most expensive house first because you get the first home buyer discount, and then you will always pay lower property taxes. That's not the case. You pay the full taxes, and now it's finally confirmed. Still, obviously, you want to buy an expensive house first if you want to make use of that discount, because you can't reset it anymore, apparently, because you used to be able to reset that by selling your house at relogging. But yeah, it's overall a lot better to just have clarity on that, and that there's no permanent advantage by buying an expensive house first. Fixed issues with early game spawning. The Watchtower respawn point is replaced by the settlement after it has been discovered. Players no longer incorrectly respawn at the Watchtower after selecting to respawn at the settlement. They really need to solve the whole respawning thing, because sometimes it just displays the wrong place to respawn, and then you try to respawn there and then it corrects itself the right place, so something is still off there anyways. Fix various localization issues throughout the game. Fix an issue where not all items for town projects were consumed when completing the mission. Never seen that one, but interesting. Resolve logging errors that prevented players from accessing the characters. Fix an issue that caused arena keys not to drop as intended. So this one is also interesting because I'm not quite sure what this is referring to. Arena keys drop from certain quests, so it could be related to quests, but I don't know if this means that there's actually a chance that a full arena key can drop somewhere, and that's intended, like outside of the quest. I'm doubting it. I don't think so. I think you're meant to craft them. But the wording here, leaves that a bit open. I'm assuming it's referring to the quest arena key drops though. But yeah, don't know for sure. Fixed an issue that caused the runic bear armor not to be appropriately dyed during wars. So they all, actually have the war colors, red and blue. Fixed a pet placement issue. Pets placed in an otherwise empty house now remain in the home after the player logs out, instead of returning the pet to the player's inventory. AP Southeast servers now display the correct time zone in-game. That was a bit confusing. And that might still be confusing because we have different time zones down here. Fix an issue that caused company invites to persist after decline or accept. Fix an issue that caused Raja spawns to stack forever. One big cat at a time, please. This one is a massive elite tiger that would just pile on top of each other from the quests, and there would just be a bunch of them, and if you get too close, you just get one shot. There are more of those issues, though. A lot of them are in Requarter, so this is not just one mob that had this problem, though I heard that the ones in Requarter are actually fixed for the most part, at least. So maybe that's not even up to date anymore. Maybe they've actually fixed all of them already, because they had the exact same bug there. So yeah, fingers crossed that these double spawns are just gone completely now. We'll find out in the near future, because I held off on the Requarter quest to make sure that I don't run into that issue, because I knew some other people did. And I already experienced that on the beta server, and I was like, I'm not going to go through all of that again. I'm going to wait. I'm going to try it out soon, and then I can report back. And then there were some extra updates that they did, and one of them is super, super important. Fix an issue that caused holding and dragging around the client while in windowed mode to constantly re-trigger invincibility. This was literally used by people to just be permanently invincible, and they could stand on a point in a war and cap the point. And especially because it was so laggy in many of the wars, people couldn't even tell. Like, they didn't even know that it was being done against them, because, it's just someone standing on point, not moving. Like, nothing new in the lag battles that we're seeing. So I actually did not want to talk about this bug earlier, specifically because I wanted to wait and see if they resolve it before I talk about it, simply because if I talk about it before, then more people get the chance to abuse it. So I'm very glad that they were able to solve that one quickly, because I wasn't sure if that's an easy one to resolve as well, because it sounded like something that was, based on the whole client-side issues with combat and the general coding of the game. So yeah, I'm very glad that this particular one is fixed. Fix an issue that caused taxes not to go into the controlling company's treasury. Fix an issue that caused penalty length for suspension bans to say over a year. And fix issues with companies not receiving some territory taxes. So there's just a bit of a financial stuff here on the side. Some titles and achievements were also not updated correctly. So when I logged in today, I got a bunch of new titles again. So I don't know what's happening with that at the moment. And for now, they have removed some of them from the list as well that needed some additional work. So I guess they fixed some of them and then removed some other ones that they'll fix later. And then they have some other, speculative fixes, what they're calling. This is some stuff that they want to get out and see if the issues still persist, and they just want to see if they can keep working on them and fix them. So they're working on a fix where wars and invasions kicks off earlier than scheduled. Again, that relates to what I talked about above. Work to fix an issue when not all settlement stations upgraded as intended when town projects are completed, and players should no longer become stuck when entering or exiting an instance. If a player reconnects and the character is dead, the respawn screen is open with respawn options available. Players who are currently stuck need to contact customer support to have their character unstuck. So this is a very big issue, like that one of our company members, or not one of our company members, but somebody experienced it, and they were stuck, I think, for 6 days. So they died at the end of Outpost Rush, got teleported out, and then somehow ended up in the new area, in the new territory. They were just thrown all over the world, and then they were stuck there and like flying through space basically endlessly, and they couldn't do anything. And it took like a week or so until they were able to reset it. So that issue is resolved now. But since this issue was caused by Outpost Rush, I think that may be the reason why they disabled Outpost Rush. Outpost Rush is still not back. Like, we tried today to see if it's actually playable, but it's still not. So I guess they have more fixes to do. Maybe they're just not sure if this one's fully resolved, or it's something different that made them turn off Outpost Rush. But yeah, hopefully that is coming back soon. Outside of that, there are a bunch of things that we tested today already to make sure that, or to find out if those were actually changed. And it looks like on the mechanic side, on the combat side, not a lot of changes have happened. There's still a lot of glitches, there's still a lot of tooltips that are incorrect, and so on and so on. Could go on for hours about this. I'll talk about this in future videos. But generally speaking, in this patch, it seems like combat-wise, not all too much was touched, and more the overarching issues were touched. Which means there's still a lot of work to be done, to be honest, because there are some pretty significant issues in which certain things can be abused right now, that you may have noticed being used against you potentially as well, if you're playing a lot of PvP and you wonder why things don't connect and stuff. So yeah, we'll see what happens to that. But yeah, for now, this is what we have. This is what we know. Patch looks good. I'm happy that they're now starting to address more of the major issues, especially when it comes to late game content as well. The pace is definitely picking up compared to the first weeks now that they have the server transfer part out of the way, and I'm very hopeful at this point. Yeah, with that, thank you guys very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell. And other than that, I hope to see you on the next one soon. Sloth out.